There's a wall sitting on the south side of thousands of homes across Europe and North America right now. It has no wires, no thermostat, no filter to replace, no technician to schedule, no gas line running into it, no electric bill attached to it. It is just concrete, black paint, and a single sheet of glass. And it heats an entire house through the coldest months of the year for absolutely $0 per month. The United States Department of Energy tested it. Los Alamos National Laboratory validated it. Real homeowners in New Mexico documented a 47% reduction in their annual heating bills from a single wall. Princeton, New Jersey. A family built one in 1974. The data they collected over 2 consecutive winters showed their heating costs dropped by 76%, then 84%. 2 winters, back to back. A wall paid for itself before the second heating season ended. Then oil prices crashed in the 1980s. And the $240 billion heating and cooling industry exhaled. Research programs were defunded overnight. University courses on passive solar design vanished from architecture curricula. Building codes were quietly rewritten to favor mechanical systems. And an entire generation of architects graduated without ever hearing the name Felix Trombe. They did not stop teaching this because it failed. They stopped because it worked too well. A wall that eliminates your heating bill cannot be sold as a subscription. Concrete and black paint cannot be patented. Sunlight cannot be metered. And what cannot generate monthly revenue must be erased from public memory. This is the story of the Trombe Wall, the heating system that ancient civilizations mastered, that a French engineer perfected in the Pyrenees Mountains, that the United States government tested and confirmed, and that the HVAC industry buried under $240 billion worth of machines designed to keep you dependent forever. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge survives. Here we open the vaults, the industry locked shut. Now, let me take you back to where this all begins. Not to a French laboratory, to ancient Rome. Because the Trombe Wall did not start in 1967. It started the moment the first human being noticed something remarkable about a thick stone wall facing the sun. Roman architects in the first century understood what every modern HVAC engineer pretends to have forgotten. A massive wall facing south absorbs heat all day, silently, without combustion. After sunset, that stored heat radiates back into the room it faces. The wall becomes a battery, slow, steady, silent, running on nothing but light. Roman villas across the Mediterranean used this principle for centuries. In Persia, adobe walls absorbed scorching desert heat during the day and released it slowly through freezing desert nights. In the American Southwest, the Anasazi built cliff dwellings with deliberate southern exposure, thick stone walls holding the low winter sun through the night. For thousands of years, across dozens of cultures, builders understood that the wall itself was the heating system. No fire, no fuel, just mass, orientation, and sunlight. Then came natural gas. Then came the forced air furnace. And every ancient building tradition that used thermal mass was dismissed as primitive, beneath the standard of the modern American home. Fast forward to 1967 in the Pyrenees Mountains of southern France. A research station sits at the foot of the world's largest solar furnace at Odélo. This is where Félix Trombe, a French physicist who worked on nuclear materials research for the French government, is working on an obsession that has consumed his career. He's not a dreamer. He's a rigorous, data-driven engineer with no patience for theory that does not produce results. And what he builds at Odéo in 1967 is so elegantly simple that it should have changed every building code on Earth. Here's what he built. A thick concrete wall, approximately 2 feet of solid thermal mass, painted matte black on its exterior face. In front of that wall, mounted 4 inches away from the surface, a single sheet of glass. Between the glass and the dark wall, a sealed air gap. 2 small vents cut through the concrete, one near the floor, one near the ceiling. That is the entire system. No moving parts, no wiring, no fuel connection, no maintenance schedule, just physics. Here is what that wall does. Sunlight passes through the glass. The dark concrete surface absorbs up to 95% of that solar radiation. The air gap between the glass and the wall heats rapidly, sometimes exceeding 60 degrees Celsius on a clear winter afternoon. Hot air rises naturally through the top vent and flows into the living space. Cooler room air cycles in through the bottom vent to replace it. A natural convection loop circulates warm air through your home all day long without a single watt of electricity. But that is only half the system. The concrete wall itself, all 24 inches of it, has been slowly absorbing heat since sunrise. 8 hours of thermal energy stored in dense, dark mass. After sunset, when the temperature outside drops and every furnace in the neighborhood kicks on, Trombe's wall does the opposite of what you expect. It does not lose heat. It releases it, slowly, steadily, hour after hour through the night. The heat absorbed at noon arrives in your living room at 8 in the evening. The heat absorbed at 2 in the afternoon reaches the interior surface by midnight. A single wall provides radiant warmth 8 to 12 hours after the sun is set. The first Trombe house at Odelo documented one staggering result. 70% of that building's total yearly heating needs were supplied entirely by the wall. 70%. No furnace needed for 70% of the coldest months of the year, and this was the first prototype. Rough, unoptimized, built without the benefit of computer modeling or advanced materials. The Kelbaugh House in Princeton, New Jersey, built in 1974, went further. 600 square feet of Trombe wall on the south face. Data collected over 2 full heating seasons. The results were not theoretical. They were measured, documented, filed with researchers at the time. Heating costs reduced by 76% in the winter of 1975, reduced by 84% the following winter. Not 20%, not 30%, 76 and 84% reduction in heating costs from one wall. Now, before I go further, this video is just the surface. I spent months gathering everything the heating industry buried inside one vault. The complete Trombe wall construction blueprint with exact measurements and step-by-step installation, the solar water heater for $5, the earth battery from 2 metals and dirt, the tannic acid rust guide for $3, 9 suppressed guides, 0 filler. The link is in the description. But stay here because the number that comes next is the one the HVAC industry has spent 40 years making sure you never saw. The United States Department of Energy funded extensive Trombe wall research throughout the 1970s oil crisis. Los Alamos National Laboratory in New Mexico built and tested dozens of prototypes. The National Renewable Energy Laboratory published a study confirming that a properly designed Trombe wall in Albuquerque, New Mexico, reduced annual heating energy consumption by 47% compared to a conventional insulated wall. 47%. In sunny climates like the American Southwest, that figure climbed to 70%. Multiple researchers, multiple institutions, multiple real buildings producing the same result over and over. Researchers at the Indian Institute of Technology tested the dual-mode system in 2015 and measured interior temperature reductions of 6 to 8 degrees Celsius during peak summer heat without a single watt of electricity. Scientists at MIT calculated that if just 10% of American homes installed Trombe walls, the country would save over 12 billion kilowatt hours of energy every year. Enough electricity to power 1.2 million homes for 12 months. The technology is proven. The data is published. The peer-reviewed papers exist, and almost nobody has heard of it. Here's why. The global HVAC industry generates over $240 billion per year. Every furnace sold, every air conditioning unit installed, every filter replaced every 90 days, every technician visit, every emergency heating repair at 2 a.m. in January, every single dollar of that $240 billion depends on one thing: your complete, total, lifelong dependence on their machines. A Trombe wall generates 0 recurring revenue. You cannot sell a monthly subscription to Sunlight. You cannot patent a thick concrete wall painted black. You cannot charge a maintenance fee for a system that has no moving parts, no filters, no refrigerant, no electronics, and nothing that can wear out or fail. A Trombe wall built today will still be heating the building it faces in 200 years. Concrete does not degrade. Glass does not expire. The sun does not send a monthly invoice. During the 1970s oil crisis, governments in the United States, France, and Germany invested heavily in passive solar research. Thousands of Trombe wall homes were built and studied. Real families were cutting heating bills by 70% and 80% with a wall. Then, in 1986, global oil prices collapsed, and the research funding evaporated overnight. Passive solar programs lost their backing. University departments were defunded. Building codes were rewritten by committees with deep ties to the HVAC industry, making passive solar design economically impractical. A generation of architecture students graduated without ever hearing the name Felix Trombe. By 2000, the erasure was complete. An American homeowner could be quoted $15,000 for a new furnace and never once be told that black paint and glass could supply half their heat for free. Forever. That is not an accident. That is a business model. Now, let me be honest about limitations. Trombe walls perform best in climates with significant winter sunshine. Extended cloudy winters like the Pacific Northwest reduce effectiveness. Orientation matters absolutely. A south-facing wall with unobstructed sun is essential. Retrofitting requires assessing your wall's structural capacity. In very humid climates, moisture in the air gap requires attention to prevent condensation. But for the vast majority of homes in the United States, Southern Europe, Australia, and Northern India, this works exactly as documented. The limitations are real and manageable. The average American household spent $1,000 to $2,000 per year on heating in 2024. Over 20 years, that is $40,000 handed to a utility company for a problem Felix Trombe solved with concrete and glass in 1967. Here is exactly what to build, and this is the part they have spent 40 years making sure you never find in any contractor's estimate. Start with your south-facing exterior wall. In the northern hemisphere, this is the wall that receives the most direct winter sun. Stand in your backyard or on your street in December and identify the wall with the most unobstructed sun exposure from mid-morning through mid-afternoon. That is your Trombe wall location. The wall itself needs thermal mass. Concrete block, poured concrete, stone, or adobe all work. The ideal thickness is between 8 and 16 inches for the mass wall. Thinner walls heat up faster but release heat sooner. Thicker walls take longer to heat but provide warmth deep into the night. For most residential applications, 10 to 12 inches of concrete block is the practical sweet spot. Paint the exterior surface of the wall with flat, matte black paint. Not glossy. Gloss reflects light. Matte absorbs it. This single step increases solar absorption to approximately 95% of incident radiation. Standard exterior matte black paint from any hardware store costs about $15 per gallon and covers roughly 400 square feet. You are not looking for a specialty product. You are looking for the darkest, flattest exterior paint on the shelf. Mount a sheet of tempered glass 3 to 4 inches in front of the painted wall surface. Tempered glass is essential for safety because a glass panel this large in direct sun will heat and cool daily, and standard glass will eventually crack. The air gap between the glass and the dark wall must be sealed at the top, bottom, and sides to create a closed solar collection chamber. This is the greenhouse effect working at the wall scale. Shortwave solar radiation passes through the glass easily. The dark wall converts it to heat. The heat attempts to radiate back out as long-wave infrared radiation. Glass blocks long-wave radiation. The heat is trapped inside the gap and has nowhere to go but through the wall and into your home. Cut 2 rows of vents through the concrete wall, one near the floor, approximately 6 inches above the finished floor level, one near the ceiling, approximately 6 inches below the ceiling. Each vent should be 4 to 6 inches in diameter. Install simple, manually operated dampers, the kind sold at any HVAC supply shop for a few dollars each. These dampers let you control the convection loop. In winter, open the interior dampers. Close any exterior vents if you have them. The convection loop runs continuously during daylight hours. Cool room air enters through the bottom vent, heats in the air gap, rises through the top vent, and circulates warm air through the living space. After sunset, close the bottom vent and leave the top vent open to allow radiant heat from the wall to continue warming the room through the night. In summer, reverse the process. Open exterior vents at the bottom and top of the glass assembly at night. Cool night air flows through the gap and chills the massive thermal wall. During the day, close the exterior vents and open the interior bottom vent. The now cooled wall absorbs heat from the room. The heavy thermal mass acts as a passive air conditioner, drawing warmth out of your living space into itself. It is the same wall, the same glass, the same physics, just operated in reverse. The material cost for a 12-foot by 8-foot Trombe wall section, covering 96 square feet of south-facing wall, runs between $500 and $1,500, depending on your existing wall structure and whether you are retrofitting or building new. A new central HVAC system costs between $7,000 and $15,000 installed, plus $800 to $1,500 per year in electricity and maintenance costs for the rest of the home's life. A Trombe wall of 96 square feet, properly sited and constructed, can provide between 30% and 50% of a home's total winter heating load. In the best conditions, documented by real research in real buildings, it can supply 70% or more. A homesteader in Taos, New Mexico, built a Trombe wall on his south-facing living room wall in 2018. His propane heating bill the first winter dropped by 62%. The second winter, he added a second wall section, and the propane bill dropped 80% from his pre-Trombe baseline. He has spent exactly $0 on maintenance since installation. The wall requires nothing. It does nothing you can charge for. It just works. A family in the Languedoc region of southern France retrofitted 2 Trombe wall sections on their farmhouse in 2019. They eliminated their electric baseboard heaters entirely. Their home maintains between 18 and 22 degrees Celsius year-round with no mechanical system whatsoever. They described it as the silence. No click of a thermostat, no rumble of a furnace waking them at 3 in the morning, no bill arriving in February to ruin a perfectly good week. These are not experiments. These are people living inside documented, published, peer-reviewed technology that someone decided you should not know about. Felix Trombe died in 1985. He spent his final years watching the industry dismantle everything his research had built. Funding cut, programs shelved, his wall erased from textbooks as he watched. He did not live to see families choosing between heating their homes and feeding their children in the winter of 2022. But concrete does not forget. Glass does not care about quarterly earnings. Physics did not stop working because a trade lobby filed paperwork. A photovoltaic solar panel converts 15 to 20% of sunlight into electricity. A Trombe wall converts 70 to 80% into usable heat. That comparison does not appear in any solar industry brochure. You cannot subscribe to sunlight. You cannot meter thermal mass. You You cannot build a service franchise around a wall that does not break. The Romans built thermal mass walls 2,000 years ago. The Anasazi kept warm through Colorado winters without purchased fuel. A French physicist published the numbers in 1967. The United States government confirmed them. Princeton homeowners confirmed them. Researchers on 4 continents confirmed them. And still the contractor, who quotes you $12,000 for a furnace this winter, will say nothing. $240 billion per year depends on you believing that warmth requires a monthly invoice. If this vault opened something for you today, subscribe and share this video with every homeowner you know who's still paying to heat the same cubic feet of air every winter for the rest of their life. Every share sends this knowledge to someone the industry prayed would never find it. Every subscription keeps this channel digging into the vaults they thought were sealed forever.